Okay, this month, in the month of July, I have chosen the theme as being free to ... And today's message is free to choose. I thought that Kenny Dye's song was pretty appropriate that we found on the recording to hear in this regard. So we're free to choose. Do you believe that? Do you believe that we are free to choose? At any given moment, we are free to choose our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions. It's an important question. And the key word there is believe. Do you believe that? Whether or not we are aware of it, our beliefs run our lives. And that sentence has another key word in it. Whether we are aware of it or not. So our awareness and our beliefs are the keys to the way that we are living our lives. You see, because in a nutshell, we aren't free to make conscious decisions and choices if we are unaware that we can make a conscious choice and we believe we can't. If we believe we can't make a conscious choice and a supportive choice, an aware choice that we would choose, you're right. Awareness is the key. Belief is the key. Unfortunately, most of the time, our beliefs, our thoughts, go into a default mode because we have grown ourselves into this habitual thinking of limiting ourselves from a certain standpoint, and that this is the way life is. But the amazing thing is, and that's why we're here today, is to recognize and remember and live from the truth, from the reality that we are an infinite spiritual being. Yes, temporarily housed, in this body form. But this infinite spiritual being is love, is all-giving, and it's not just in me personally, it's just not in you personally, it's in everything. It's in all. And so we then are able to, if we recognize this, if we are aware that we are this spiritual being and we are free, we are infinite, then if we are aware of that, then yes, we are aware that we can choose consciously whatever comes into our space, whatever comes into our awareness. But what we have done unconsciously, unknowingly, certainly not by definite choice, is that we have been choosing fear and doubt over love and faith. We look at the world and we see all of this business going around, and we get fearful, we get afraid, we think that we are not enough, and yet we are. When we first came into this teaching, what was one of the first things you learned when you came into this teaching? Think about what you want, not about what you don't want. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Think about what you want, not about what you don't want. We get into these habits of doing just the opposite. Something comes up in our experience and we just go right there to the end result that this is going to be the worst thing possible. If this is happening, then that will happen, and that will happen, and that will happen. The dominoes will fall. When we center ourselves in the truth of what we are, and it takes intention, it takes discipline, It takes habit of centering, recentering ourselves, taking that deep breath, and knowing that I am enough. That this I am in me is enough. And this love, infinite love, is just waiting for us to call on it. It's waiting for us in the balcony or wherever you want to call it. It's that still small voice. It doesn't come pounding on the door. We have to turn our cheek away from what the earthly and worldly things are telling us and turn it back to the truth of reality if we are going to be able to utilize that strength, that love in our life situations. We have to expect to receive what we want. We have to ask, knowing what is it that I really want. We have to believe it, and we have to expect that it'll come. It's not an easy thing in today's world at all. I'm not saying it's easy. But the more we can discipline ourselves to return to that truth of our being, to me, life gets easier. Life unfolds in a natural way. I was with a friend, and we were going to go to the beach. And so we decided we were going to start out in Oceanside and just come down the coast and see when we could find a parking place and go to the beach. And so we left Oceanside, and we passed through Oceanside. We passed through Carlsbad. We passed through Encinitas. We passed through Solana Beach. These are all the little towns on Coast Highway 1 that you see, and there's lots of little areas where you can park. And you know what's happening in San Diego today? Everybody's out, especially yesterday. They're out at the beach because it's hot. You know, we weren't the only ones with this idea. And so we're looking for a parking place. So at one point when we pulled into a lot, and there were 3 or 4 cars ahead of us, of course, I called in the parking angels. I said, "You're on duty." Well, there was nothing in that lot. And then we kept driving. We kept driving down through all those coastal cities. And at one point, I saw somebody getting into their car. Looked like they were leaving, but we were going too fast, you know, and missed it. So we got finally to Del Mar. Del Mar is really the last town on the coast in that grouping of them, right? So we get to Del Mar, and traffic stops in front of us. We had to stop. And as we're stopped, there's a car that's literally just a few feet ahead of us. They're cleaning off their boogie boards, and they're, you know, putting stuff in the car. And it was easy peasy to turn on the turn signal, wait for that person to leave. We didn't even have to parallel park. We just pulled right in. You know, the access to the beach was just literally almost the length of this room, maybe a little longer. Easy peasy. And I had to laugh afterward because I thought of those parking angels when I called them on duty. And I was thinking about how much work they had to do to get that parking place. They literally had to stop traffic for us to find that parking place. Things like that are happening every day of our lives. But Spirit needs to know what we want. And we need to ask. And we need to believe that traffic can stop, that whatever needs to be achieved can be handled, will show up for us in our experience. And then we say, "Thank you, God. Thank you, parking angels. You did a great job." To me, that's what we are here to do, is to be this extension of love in an infinite way. Take the bounds off, take the limits off of what we are. Know what you are, ask for what you want, believe in it. Michael Beckwith tells us that Spirit doesn't know what we want. Spirit knows what we're interested in. And so there's a fine line there that we can come up with the idea, I want a parking place. I want, to go to the beach. And then we can undermine that request, that desire, by being interested in thinking, oh gosh, everybody's at the beach today. What was I thinking? We are interested in the fact that, you know what, this is too much of a struggle. This is not what I imagined. I don't want to do it this way. And what we are falling into is Spirit hears that. And Spirit says, oh, that's what you're interested in then, huh? It's a nuance. It's a slight little bend, but ever so important, that we recognize we want to keep on knowing what it is we want and not think and say and act and expect what we don't want. I wanted to share with you the reading from Science of Mind magazine this morning. Are we done? To bloom, to flourish, to reach for the sun, this growing, this becoming is never quite done. P. Bodhi. And from Ernest Holmes. Since God is infinite, our expression is progressive and eternal. No matter how much good we experience today, the infinite has more in store for us tomorrow. Do you believe that? Do you believe that you are infinite? That there's so much more that what we can experience and have in life? She writes, when I was younger and less wise, I thought that at some point I would finish growing. I would be done, complete, finished, perfected, and ready to be put away on a shelf. Then when I got older and gained a smidgen of wisdom, I realized that done, quote unquote, wasn't a concept that applied to us humans. At first, this was a somewhat daunting realization because it also meant that I couldn't rest on my laurels or say, that's all, folks. It took a while for me to grasp the essence of unlimited possibility and continued growth as our nature. Now, I am so grateful to lean into this truth and let it guide me to loving more, caring more, and demanding less. With each experience, joyful or painful, my heart can choose to close down or open wider. Sometimes my ego tells my heart to close down so as not to be hurt. At those times, my ego produces anger and resentment to protect itself and be done with the situation. However, when I recenter myself in contemplation, prayer, or stillness, my heart steps forward and chooses love. Love is never done. It just keeps expanding and enveloping all that it comes in contact with. How great is that? I am uplifted and carried by limitless possibilities for good and more good in my life. My heart opens and reaches out to all. How many of you have been experiencing the 21-day meditations this time around with Deepak Chopra? I have been taking advantage of them. And in day number 9, it was entitled, Expanding Your Awareness Every Day. He wrote, the nature of life is to grow and expand in happiness, love, and fulfillment. Think about that one sentence. The nature of life is to grow, expand in happiness, love, and fulfillment. Do you believe that? You will live as your beliefs are setting your limits, your bounds, right? He says, however, faced with the reality of everyday stress, our awareness tends to contract into a defensive posture of anxiety, fear, and fatigue. Anybody relate to that? How true is that? We shrink, we shrivel up, we pull back, because that's this protective ego energy that drives us a lot of times. And we forget how much we are unlimited. I'm talking about today our awareness, our expectations, our beliefs, and and to setting them in the truth of our reality, in the truth of our infinite being. What was the second thing that you learned when you first came into this teaching? High on the list. What you resist persists. What you resist persists. What we are resisting, we are what? Giving our attention to. And Spirit says, oh, you're interested in that. It's not rocket science. That's the way that life responds to us, because we have the ability to choose, the ability to decide what it is that we want to be interested in. One of the most valuable lessons I think that we can learn in life is to live in the present moment, to live in the now. And when we live in the now, we are letting go of so many angsts that we created for ourselves back in the day when that happened or this happened, or we are staying away from the future, or what if, oh my gosh, what if my key doesn't work because it got wet, or what if all of these things in our lives when it hasn't happened yet. Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul said, deep inner release is a spiritual path of acceptance, the path of surrender. The key is to just relax and release. You have to realize that life is giving you a gift. And that gift is the flow of events that take place between your birth and your death. Think about it. We're here on this earth plane, I believe, by love's commandment, by love's willing. We will leave this earth plane by love's willing. While we're here, life is a gift every moment. Let us live it from that love, that infinite love that we are. Well, that was me. I want to continue with what he said. To comfortably handle this flow of life, your heart and mind must be open and expansive enough to encompass reality. Now, he put it with a little r. I would always say a big R with that word. The only reason they're not is because you resist. Love is all around us. Love is all there is. It is so wanting to create for us all of our desires. It can. If it can create an easy peasy parking space, like on a day like yesterday in San Diego, it can do anything. But we create these comfort zones. I have a comfort zone here, and it has edges. So I wanted to share with you a little bit more of what Michael Singer says in his book, The Untethered Soul, about our edges. Would you like to go beyond? Would you like to feel no edges? Imagine a comfort zone that is so expanded that it can easily fit the entire day, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. The day unfolds and the mind doesn't say anything. You simply interact with the day with a peaceful, fully inspired heart. If your edges happen to get hit, the mind doesn't complain. It all just passes through. You allow it to be. This is how great beings live. When you are trained like a great athlete to immediately relax through your edges when they get hit, then it's all over. You realize that you will always be fine. Nothing can ever bother you except your edges. And now you know what to do with them. You end up loving your edges because they point your way to freedom. All you have to do is constantly relax and lean into them. Then one day, when you least expect it, you'll fall through into that infinite. That is what it means to go beyond. One day when you least expect it, you'll fall into that infinite. Get out of the herd mentality. Get out of thinking that the sky is falling. Recognize that there is this power within you that is greater than anything that is without. Let's be in that awareness that, you know what? I am trusting my life to love. Love brought me here. Love will take me home. We had one of our folks went home this week. Fern was taken back to her spiritual home this week. Another one of my beautiful friends, Freddie Polensky, went home, and I was so grateful to have spoken to her. She just had her 94th birthday in March, and I had been planning on doing her memorial service for years, and she was so involved in wanting to get it just right. She and I met 3 different times. She wanted this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. And now, doesn't it seem interesting? I have no idea when all those beautiful plans are going to happen, because life is throwing us all this major curve. And it's how we respond, how we interact with others from love, from this self-confidence that I can trust my life to love. Let me respond. Let me be this love in expression always. And if something happens that I don't like, that I don't prefer, let it pass, let it go. Don't resist it. Just let it be. Because the next moment, love, if you entice it to, will come to you. If you ask, you believe, and you accept. We are all at choice. Let's know it consciously. Let's make our choices consciously for the freedom to choose love, not doubt, not fear, not limitation, not the edges. If we come to our edge knowing that we can fly, we are all this joyous, beautiful being. Be it in expression this week. Choose the truth of what you are. Namaste. Love you.